my work and the work of a lot of the experts that we have participating in the conference actually evolves around how to help families and caregivers with interactions and whatever they need to be successful
Yeah.
and thrive themselves.
Hey, everybody. Ken Hendricks with Home Instead. Thanks so much for joining me again today. Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine who's been on the show a couple times before, Dr. Jytte Lokvig. Jytte is an Alzheimer's and dementia expert here in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Her and I are part of a wonderful team of experts that are working together to put on the Dementia Possibilities Conference that will be happening the second week of November. And lots of details and a full website launch are coming this week, so stay tuned for that info. I always enjoy chatting with Jytte, and I'm happy to have her on today. Thank you for joining me, Jytte.
You're so welcome, Ken. It's great to be here again.
So,
by the way, you can tell COVID has been happening for a while because this is my third talk with you. And I think the first one, my hair is like this. Like this. I was like, and next time I'll be in braids, you guys.
Well, I think your hair looks great for the record. I'll say that.
Thank you.
And so I know that preparation for this upcoming Dementia Possibilities Conference has likely been keeping you very busy. But beyond that, what have you been up to lately, and how have you been making the most of this quarantine period that we still find ourselves in?
Well, I actually, when it first started, I realized nobody thought it was going to go on for this long. I don't think, we were still back in March, we were still talking about actually postponing our actual in-person conference from June to September of this year, right? Last month.
Yep.
And within a couple of weeks, we realized, nope, that wasn't very realistic. But at that time, knowing that I would basically be stuck at home with my dog, who's a wonderful and great, but terrible conversationalist. It's just about me and the dog and the birds outside. And so I needed something. And I had been on and off for the last 2 years or so. I've been looking at my creativity book, which is very popular nationally, and wanted to update it and add things. And let me show it to you, because I managed to finish it in July and get the new edition out.
It's right here. Great.
Right here.
Awesome.
So Alzheimer's Creativity Project number 2. And it has about 50 additional pages in it, more projects. And the first part of it, what makes this book so unique, by the way, we're doing a commercial right now, is that the first 36 or 40 pages is all about communication and approaches. The rest of it is about specific projects and how to help people get into these specific projects. But I added a couple of things to that section in addition to a couple of projects. So that went great, and it kept me busy. I knew what I was doing on a daily basis. And then July happened, and I turned it in, and it was published. And then what?
That's great. So is it available right now? Like, can we get a link? I can put a link on it on the show notes for it?
Yeah. Actually, go to alzheimerscafe.com.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'll put that link in the show notes as well. Well, that's good stuff. I mean, that's awesome that it's been a productive period for you, in addition to all the stuff that's going on in planning for this upcoming conference. But so yeah, like you said before, we had a conference last year. I feel like things are evolving in a really great way with this one that we're doing, next month. And of course, we've pivoted to an online only approach. But it's also something that we're going to be able to do in person in great ways in years to come. But can you give the folks an overview of the conference and the idea and what the overarching goal is?
Overarching goal is to give people extra tools, because my work and the work of a lot of the experts that we have participating in the conference actually evolves around how to help families and caregivers with interactions and whatever they need to be successful,
Yeah.
and drive themselves and their care partners nuts. Uh, but of course, with COVID and the isolation, that has been aggravated a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so we realized it was really important to help people and give them some suggestions of things that they can do now. I mean, caregiving at home, especially for a family caregiver, that's 24/7.
Yeah.
Normally, they would have a bit of a respite, or at least the possibility of a bit of respite. I mean, even with you guys, with Home
Mm-hmm.
Instead, but now because of COVID, you can't do that with the same kind of freedom that you had before. So
Yeah. I
so
mean,
many people are really stuck 24/7 as caregivers, and it is an enormous burden. So
yeah,
they
it
need all
definitely
the help we
complicates
can give
things.
them. Yeah, yeah. So that's how it came about, and that's why. So we're more our in-person conference that we had last September in 2019 was great, was wonderful. But a lot of one of the reasons I think for that success was that the personal interaction between all the participants and the presenters, and of course we won't have that in the same way online. And so that has been that's difficult. We have to figure that
Yeah.
out.
It's a hurdle for sure. But I think that, you know, I've been part of some really interesting workshops and things over Zoom and different video conferencing platforms. And, the content and the way it's presented. And I think that, some of the people that we have that are going to be presenting for our conference are some of the very people that I've been in workshops with. And the way in which they present the workshop and the way that they bring people together, it really does create the feeling that you're with one another, even though it's over the internet. It's remarkable how connected you can still feel to each other.
Right, on Zoom. I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
I
a
don't know what
blessing.
we've done without it.
Yeah, it's a
I
blessing
mean,
for sure.
yeah, all these services have been lifesavers, I think, for people. Uh, anyway, back to what was I going to say? It slipped my mind.
Well, maybe you'll cover it here because I was thinking, in looking at our program as it's coming together, we have our share of really practical informational workshops on long-term care options. One of the workshops is called Money and Papers. You folks can imagine what that's probably going to be covering, a wide variety of things. But there's a large portion of what you've always done and what we're going to be doing with the conference that centers on creativity and art. And I know, being an artist yourself, this is a passion of yours that has been there for many years. But I wonder if you could take us back to what was it that you observed by bringing art into support for those living with dementia years ago that has you continuing to do that all these years later?
Art projects or craft projects were the only things that really gave people a chance to do something on their own, and that had nothing to do with their level or of cognitive disability at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped them. It helped give them a purpose and a focus. It was theirs. Whatever they were doing, it was theirs. Nobody else's. And nobody could tell them that, no, this is above your level, below your level, or whatever. I mean, all that went out the window. And it also gave people something to share with each other.
Mm-hmm.
In the groups. I worked with groups for many, many years at local facilities here. And but my approach, by the way, just so you know, is that I totally believe that I have no right to tell anybody what's right or wrong.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to any kind of artistic expression, it's so personal. I can't tell you if it's good or not. You know,
I
I have my
love that.
personal
I love
opinion,
that
but
perspective. And I can see how, like, I mean, that perspective is one that really resonates with me because, um, I mean, I could go on a rabbit trail here, but I just see how that is just so right on that, like, people, when they're engaging in an artistic, project, there's really like, there's a freedom there, like, and they can do whatever they want to do, and it's not right, it's not wrong, it's just whatever they feel. And actually, it's right, it's just
you're right.
not wrong. Yeah,
It's always right.
yeah, it's like
It's
it's
no
always
fail.
right. And I've always been that
Right.
way, as people always, with all these conversations, people talk, sometimes will reference the guitars and stuff in the background. I'm a musician and a songwriter, and one of the things that, for, in my younger years, I was certainly more black and white when it came to music. And I would say, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad. But over the years now, like, one of the things that bugs me the most is when people say that a, a song is a bad song. Because I don't think that
Right.
you can't really even say that. I mean, sure, like, if someone, you know, if it's, but see, I was going to say, like, if it's just noise, but then that can be art too,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
like, so yeah, that you definitely, you touch on something that's real, that I'm real passionate about with that, because there is no right and wrong when it comes to art. And I can see how, whatever ability we have, just having that expression,
Right.
it's priceless.
Yeah, I have to tell you, one of the groups I had that I'd been working with for quite a while was at a in a memory care unit at one of the local facilities here, and they had been very busy for at this point for a couple of years. One of the residents had been hanging on the fringes in the room next door. She could still see what was going on, and she could hear the laughter, but she had both very serious dementia and also Parkinson's.
Hmm.
So, I mean, she was physically disabled as well. And I find her brother used to come visit all the time. And I said, bring her in here, please. Because the staff was trying to protect the rest of the group from interference, including, whatever. So he did. And I gave her, at first she didn't do anything. We went through this for like several days in a row. I had him bring her in.
Yeah.
I gave her, at one point, I gave her a marker and a board, because we used to use mat boards that I got from framers, for our projects. And at one point, finally, she put the marker to the board and she started making circles. And for an hour, she just kept making circles, circle,
Wow.
circle, circle, circle. And the same thing the next day in the same spot. I gave her the same board, a different
Uh-huh.
color if you wanted it. Actually, I gave her choices, like 3 different colors. Which one would you like? And she kept going to the dark blue. but as she wore out that pen, I had to find another dark blue that was identical. Uh, she eventually made so many circles, it went through the mat board. She actually made a hole in the mat board with her
Hmm.
circles, but she was so pleased with herself. And she was like, and I kind of, I thought, okay, maybe it's just an automatic thing, whatever. So one day, actually, the rest of the group were working on collages, and let me see if I can find something I happen to have. Okay, we'll use this one. I had a picture like similar to this,
Yeah.
and I asked her. She couldn't speak, of course, but I could still get like minuscule reactions from her.
Uh-huh.
Yes, no. I said, "Would you like this picture on your board?" And she kind of went, "Yeah," which meant
I
yes.
would say, yeah.
Glued it onto her board. What was amazing was she took her felt tip pen and she started outlining
Mm.
all the way around this thing. And again, instead of her circles, now she was outlining
Yeah.
like again and over. But it was a completely different consciousness. She was there.
That's
She was
awesome.
doing this deliberately. She was making her art. I mean, I still get goosebumps when I think about it. You know, it was so thrilling to
Yeah,
me.
I think that, you know, we shortchange ourselves oftentimes by thinking that something like quality time, a quality project requires complexity. It doesn't.
Mm-mm.
And I think that the more we can get in touch with the simplicity of life and be
Yeah, just
content,
holding a hand.
yeah, be content with it, to find the beauty in simplicity, I think. You know, to find the beauty in sitting
Mm-hmm.
down and
Mm-hmm.
drawing a circle. Like that
Right,
there's a
right,
lot of beauty there. It
right. And,
sounds silly,
oh,
I
of
think,
course it is.
because of the ways that we usually approach things. But I think that
Uh-huh.
when you get down to it, if you take the time, if you quiet yourself,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to be experienced in just sitting down and drawing a circle, you know? I think,
And especially when you're doing with somebody else,
yeah,
because it
yeah.
makes for a connection that's you can't. I don't know what words to put to it actually.
Words might
And
not be necessary.
oh no, I don't touch it because
Yeah, yeah.
but that's really when I do projects with groups, by the way, especially when they are in a residential setting, where this whole group is basically living together. They don't have, it's hard to believe, but they were not really giving much of an opportunity to bond with each other
Hmm.
in a real personal way. These projects that we do free some of the burdens of their dementias
Yeah.
and allows them to connect at whatever level they want to connect, but they're in it together. And that's really, I don't care what people do. Ultimately, that's my purpose. More than anything, that's my purpose. And
Hmm.
it just, that's why I've been doing it all these years. Uh, it's over 25 years now.
So I think we're really kind of touching on this already, but the next question that I had down here was, you know, mentioning that there's a conversation that's been happening for a bit now, one that you and I are definitely part of. And I think it's a really important conversation around dementia that has to do with really seeking to foster hope and purpose for people, as we're all in this in this hope for a potential cure for different types of dementia related illnesses. We're
Mm-hmm.
all hoping for the best and better treatment options to come, through the research that's being done and things. But in the midst of the time while we're waiting for those things to happen, I think something that gets lost in the mix is making the most of life now and not
Exactly.
looking at it in such a, in spite of a diagnosis, whatever the diagnosis we ourselves or our loved ones might have, you know, um, just shedding light on the fact that we can still live our lives and enjoy life to the best of our abilities every moment of every day. And so all that to say, you're part of that conversation locally,
Mm-hmm.
internationally. What when
Mm-hmm.
I bring that up, what thoughts does that inspire today?
Uh, I totally agree with you. And I think if let me back up a little bit. When I first got into this 25 years ago, 26 years ago now, uh, there were reports out of success with a vaccine against Alzheimer's, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tested positive on mice. Headlines in
Yeah,
local
yeah,
papers and all that. And that has been going on all this time. In the meantime, people keep forgetting about the uh, people who are living with Alzheimer's or other dementias right now. And like you said, we could have a vaccine and you could die like the day before from kidney disease.
Sure, sure. Nobody knows what's coming down.
There we have no, like the only thing we have is right now in this moment
Mm-hmm.
and each other. And if we could just, and I think this for everybody, it has not, beyond dementia or anything, is that if we can learn to just be in that moment with each other and enjoy it, and don't be so concerned about why we're doing this or where it's going, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like just be there. I mean, some of my most precious times with my grandchildren when they were little was like, sitting out here on my rocks watching ants.
Yeah.
What I mean, or 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 was my elders just sitting at their bedside while they were dying and holding their hand and humming together
Mm.
because they weren't able to speak anymore. That to me, that's love.
Yeah.
Both of them, that's love.
Yeah.
Is so that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, it's so important, I think, to continually draw our own attention back to those simple aspects of just being in our day-to-day lives,
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying the simplicity of what's going on rather than telling ourselves a story that something else is needed.
Right. Right.
Because I think that there's something we can get in touch with that that we often miss, and it's life now.
Right. Right. Exactly. Because if we go into the what else is needed, we can never stop.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, like if you're focused on making money, when do you have enough?
Just a little more.
Focusing on, yeah, on any material things, when do you have enough?
And so we've talked a lot about the conference that's coming
Right.
up. What piece of it at this point, I'm sure it changes day to day if it's anything like how I approach projects, but what piece of the conference has you most excited right now?
I have to tell you, actually, it's the presenters. Everybody in this group is from this area, and it's funny because I hadn't really thought about it consciously until a couple of weeks ago when somebody brought up getting some experts and specialists in from the East Coast because
Uh-huh.
we could do that, right? And I said, wait a minute, no, we're so used to always looking somewhere else for expertise, and we have it right here, and we have some fabulous people in this group. So I'm so looking forward to sharing this with whomever wants to tune in. And before we do anything else, let me give you the website. I set up a website, and that'll have the program and the registration and everything on there. Is called dementiapossibilities.com. Okay.
Great. That'll probably be live. So this episode is likely going to come out either today or tomorrow. Today's the 12th right now, but I think middle of the week, right? Because we're on a Monday right now. When people are watching this, it's probably not going to be a Monday, but by Wednesday of this week, so after the 14th, it should be live, right?
Right. And I want to keep it up for a while. I'm designing it so that we actually have enough interesting material that's not just about the conference itself. We have additional resources and videos and all that so people can come back to them. And I reserved the space on my web with my web host for a year. So we can leave it up for a year if we want.
Well, and I know you can
add to it.
We're also looking to record the majority of the sessions, right? And so all of those can be archived either on the site, embedded there, or on YouTube. That's awesome. Awesome. So
exactly.
I'm really excited to be working with you on this, Jytte. Well, I mean, we work together on a lot of things, and we always have a great time doing it. We do serious work, but we're not too serious, and I really enjoy that.
Oh no, life is too difficult to be serious about it. And by the way, one of our participants as presenter is Gail Trotter, she wears two hats. She's a she's probably the strongest resident advocate in the state. She's pretty powerful with the ombudsman's office, and I've known her for years. But the other hat she wears is an improv artist. So
That's
we're
awesome.
going to take advantage of both of her skills, and she's really primo at both of them. So, yeah. So we're trying to cover the gamut in this conference between practical things, like you said, money and papers, and did I call it money and papers or love and papers? I don't remember anymore.
I think it's money and papers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And options and some of the, I based a lot of this originally on what I dealt with when I first was confronted with all of a sudden having to take care of my dad, and I knew nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized most of us know nothing when we find ourselves all of a sudden having to take care of an elder family member. So we want to get at least touch on things and help steer people in the right direction where they can get more information on all these things. In addition to how do you have fun? How do you help stay busy during this crazy time when we're staying at home? What kind of projects work? So we'll have lots of that too. And so I'm very excited.
Yeah, likewise, I am too. All right, well, I'm going to let you go for today, and then I think I'm going to try and get some more speakers from our conference on these episodes leading up to the second week in November. But yeah, very excited to be working with you on this, and thanks for joining me today.
Anytime, Ken. Anytime. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.